Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm really excited to bring you today's video. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's get started. In 1996, Terry Hitchcock's life reached a turning point. Everything had been going well until his wife Susan passed away from cancer. During their 20-year marriage, Hitchcock and Susan had been each other's biggest support. Every moment they spent together focused on the happiness of their family and brought a positive light to their lives. However, when the painful day arrived, everything suddenly turned dark. After Susan's death, Terry found himself in a deep void. Her loss turned Terry's world upside down. He felt as though he had lost himself and began to question how he could continue being a father to his children without her. Rebuilding his life and coping with the grief wasn't easy. As the days passed, a profound sense of loneliness and guilt took hold of him. The image of Susan's suffering and struggle during her final days constantly echoed in his mind. However, at some point, the loss that deepened his pain also provided him with a reason to take action. He thought that for the sake of his children and to honor Susan's memory, he needed to do something. One day, Terry thought, how can I deal with this pain? How can I keep Susan's memory alive? How can I make the world pay attention? He was searching for a way to honor his family and Susan's memory. But he didn't just want to make it a personal healing journey. He wanted to do something grand that could reach the whole world. Then, an idea came to him. In 1996, as someone battling for survival, he decided to embark on a huge journey alone. Terry wanted to start a survival struggle, not just for Susan, but for everyone fighting cancer, and to send a message to the world. We are fighting this disease. We are surviving. We are persevering. He wanted to show the world this fight and raise awareness. And so, that day, he set a goal for himself: to run from the east to the west of the United States for 75 days, showing the world the struggle, hope, and resilience with every step. At first, the thought seemed like a dream. How could he possibly run more than 2,000 kilometers alone? But his determination turned that dream into a reality. With the support of his children, Terry decided to embark on this arduous journey. By doing so, he wanted to show them, as well as the whole world, how valuable life is. He knew that running wouldn't just be a physical struggle, it would be a mental challenge as well. With each step, he would remember Susan's loss, her pain, and her battle, dedicating this journey to her memory. But this journey had to be more than just for himself. It had to become a symbol for cancer patients and their families. He needed to show people that they were not alone in this relentless fight. While Terry found a new life purpose for his wife and children, he also felt a great void and fear within himself. After the loss, he imagined the peace this journey would bring him. He wouldn't only honor Susan's memory, but he would also inspire hope in people's hearts. This decision would completely change Terry's life, turning every moment and every step into a survival struggle. Everything would be shaped by a determination born from the mix of love and loss. Once Terry made his decision, he fully grasped the magnitude of this journey. 75 days, over 2,000 kilometers a distance that would push his body and mind to their limits. But there was one thing: his determination. Nothing would stand in his way of completing this journey. However, this would require a thorough and lengthy preparation process. First, Terry began different training exercises to see if he was physically prepared for such a long journey. Every morning, he ran long distances quickly. To strengthen his muscles and increase his endurance, he pushed his body to its limits. But the preparation wasn't just limited to running. Terry threw himself into intense training, trying to run through mountainous terrain and varying weather conditions. He tested how his body would respond to such a long journey. But the real challenge would be mental resilience. Even in the early days of running, his body began to ache unbearably. His muscles nearly reached the point of collapse, and he struggled to sleep at night. Each new day meant surpassing the previous one, but the strength within him forced him to keep going. Sometimes, while running, he tried to completely empty his mind to avoid feeling the pain. And other times, he continued by thinking of Susan and his children. However, Terry was not just trying to push his physical limits. He also had to carry the emotional and psychological burden of this difficult journey. As he ran, the loss deepened with each step. While saying goodbye to Susan, he was giving everything he had to keep her memory alive. Terry was not only an athlete, but also an emotional warrior. Many nights, as fatigue almost made his eyes close, he found that old strength within him. Each distance he ran taught him the meaning of mental resilience and strength. Along with this, another crucial part of the preparation was logistics. Since Terry was going to run this long journey alone, everything had to be planned carefully. Nutrition, fluid intake, and the equipment he would need during the run all had to be considered. Additionally, he needed to create a precise plan for where he would rest and stay at the end of each day. He also developed strategies to keep his motivation high. Terry decided to draw strength from the support and interest he received from people at every stage of his journey. In addition to his family, he planned to stay in contact with the many people who supported him during the run. For him, not only physical strength but also the support of those around him was crucial. Every morning, he remembered this support as he began his day, drawing strength from it for the next step. As Terry prepared, he realized that this journey was not just for himself, but also a message to the world. With each step forward, he was facing his own pain while giving hope to others. With each passing day, he was getting closer to embarking on the real journey after all the preparations. This journey would not only be a physical trial but also a spiritual revolution. On the morning of 1996, when Terry Hitchcock took his first step to make his dream come true, he was starting a journey that would not only capture his attention, but also that of many people around the world. Starting from the state capital of Atlanta in Georgia, this run, which would exceed 2,000 kilometers, would be one of the toughest tests of Terry's life. However, on this morning, nothing could erase the determination building within him. In the first few days, everything felt unfamiliar. Every part of his body was moving at a different speed than the usual rhythm before he began running. As he took each step, his muscles started to ache involuntarily. Fatigue had already overwhelmed him from the early hours of the morning. The humidity in the air, combined with the weight of sweat accumulating on his body, made each passing minute more challenging. While running, he also experienced bouts of depression. He thought about Susan, he thought about his children, and he questioned whether it was the right decision to start such a difficult journey. But each time, he found the strength to take another step. Within him, amidst the pain of loss, there was a tremendous determination. The weather wasn't helping. While running in a hot, humid climate, the winds, rain, and unexpected storms made each step more difficult. Each kilometer he ran felt like a price paid to nature. The rain struck his skin like knives, and the mud became so deep it almost stopped his feet a few times. It seemed as though he was about to fall, but each time, instead of falling, he chose to get back up. Each fall made him a little stronger. However, the greatest obstacle appeared when his body and mind reached their limits. His body was rebelling, but Terry wasn't hearing the rebellion. Pain was struggling to hold onto his body, and the tension in his muscles was increasing. As the days passed, each step became harder. Every part of his body seemed to be trying to stop him from taking one more step, but at the same time, Terry was becoming aware of how determined he was. Ultimately, in a sense, this journey was a test, not only of the body, but also of the mind's resilience. Though the first few days were filled with doubts and aches, Terry was making progress. On the road he had started that morning, each kilometer became a new source of courage. While running, he kept repeating in his mind, "One more step, just one more step." This simple but powerful thought gave him the courage to overcome every challenge. He was progressing not only physically, but emotionally as well. At the end of each day, he felt stronger. Despite his fatigue, he was motivated for the next day. The first weeks passed with a frightening speed as Terry moved towards his goal. He was trying to get used to a pace that had never been so intense in his previous life. But no matter what, there was something he felt inside. He had to succeed. In this journey, he had decided to leave not only his body, but also his soul on this path. As he progressed, each step added meaning, and each kilometer reminded him of how precious life was. Terry knew that every moment of his run was a survival struggle. Every obstacle he encountered on the road required him to take one more step. But he wasn't just running. He was also beginning to discover the power, endurance, and determination within him. This journey was an opportunity to see how strong both his body and mind were. And with each passing day, Terry's determination was pushing him one step further. Terry Hitchcock began to notice that the obstacles he faced with each new day were much tougher than the previous ones. Slowly, he felt he was going beyond just pushing his physical limits. Every step turned into a battle. He felt that not only his body but also his mind was getting closer to breaking down with every passing moment. From the early days of journey, physical pain, fatigue, and muscle aches were threatening his body, while a mental loneliness deepened with each step. Terry usually ran alone on deserted roads. Many days, he ran for miles without encountering a single person. This loneliness, which initially seemed like a mild silence, gradually turned into an overwhelming pressure. There were no crowds on the road, no applause to encourage him, nor anyone to offer moral support. Sometimes, he felt as though he had surrendered to loneliness, lost. With every step he took alone, the pain of his loss grew. The absence of Susan became more apparent with every new kilometer. In his mind, he was paying a heavy price with every step he took to see her again, to speak to her once more. One day, exhaustion became so intense that every cell of Terry's body told him to stop. He realized that running was not just a physical effort. It was an internal struggle that exposed everything within him. His body was carrying each kilometer more heavily, and his muscles seemed to be malfunctioning. Several times, he stopped, closed his eyes, and paused to think. After this much distance, how meaningful is it to continue? A void appeared inside him. But at the same time, something reminded him. Every step is for Susan's memory and for those fighting cancer. Each time, despite the shadow of loneliness and fatigue, something pushed him into action. The memory of his family, especially the hope he wanted to keep alive in his children's eyes, was lifting him up again. This journey was not just his own struggle, it was a call for the struggle of others as well. Every day, he found a reason to keep fighting, and that reason revived the strength within him. Every time, instead of giving up, he decided to take one more step. He had dedicated himself to overcoming the next kilometer. There were other obstacles on the road as well. Weather conditions, terrain, sudden storms, extreme heat, all of them pushed Terry to his limits. From time to time, he sank into deep mud to the point where he couldn't find a place to plant his foot, and sometimes he lost his balance due to the force of the wind. But each fall gave him more determination to fight. Falling and getting back up became part of his journey. In his mind, he found the strength to overcome each fall, and at that moment, he thought about how valuable it was to take just one more step. Loneliness, pain, and fatigue were teaching him that survival was truly a battle of the soul. No matter how challenging it was, every moment of increasing determination was bringing Terry closer to his goal. The light of hope within him, which had started as a small spark, grew stronger with each passing day. The strength his family's memory gave him and the countless stories of people battling cancer empowered him with each new step. This was not just his struggle, but the struggle of a whole community at every moment of the journey. As he achieved one thing, he wanted more. On one side, there was fatigue. On the other, determination. But he wouldn't give up. He would show the world the meaning of this struggle. No matter what, he found the source of strength within him. He was not only winning a battle physically, but spiritually as well. By the middle of the journey, Terry Hitchcock's body had begun to show signs of resistance. Running had become not just a sport, but a survival battle. With each step, the previous step's devastating effect made everything heavier. Every part of his body seemed to work independently of one another. His muscles ached, his feet were swollen, and the weight on his back was causing him more and more pain. Sleep for Terry felt like not just a break, but a rebirth. His eyes would almost close in darkness every night, yet after hours of sleeplessness, he still couldn't rest enough and woke up exhausted when the new day began. However, each moment his body was breaking down became proof of his mind's strength. Running, which had started as just a physical goal, gradually became a symbol of mental resilience. Terry was not only hearing his body's cries, but also feeling his soul's screams. Emotionally, he was exhausted. Thinking of Susan and his children, his eyes would fill with tears, and the pain grew with each passing kilometer. But in his mind, there was a purpose for this journey, both for himself and for others. He discovered his mental endurance more and more with each passing day. While running, every time he heard his body's rebellion, his mind would kick in. Just one more step, he would tell himself, one more step, ... With each step, he began to set aside his pain and nurture a seed of hope. Sometimes, he felt lonely and wished he could finish this journey and, in a sense, disappear. But each time, his mind would remind him, you're not the only one feeling this. Your step will become their hope. Every day, he tried to find the strength within himself to take the next step. While running, his mind would race and his body would shake. But every moment, every second, held value. This journey wasn't just a physical one, but a psychological healing journey. During his runs, he often found himself confronting the past. After losing Susan, every moment began to take on new meaning. While running, he tried to express his love for her in some way, and with each kilometer, he distanced himself further from the longing for her. However, each step turned into a mental therapy session. He began moving forward by accepting not only his physical pain, but also his emotional suffering. With every step, he sought peace. Running became a form of meditation, clearing his mind and reminding him of his love for Susan, his responsibility toward his children, and that this journey was a debt to them. Even though he was mentally on the brink of collapse, he somehow gathered himself and began running toward his goal every morning again. Now, every new morning felt not like a struggle, but like a spark of hope. Terry's greatest discovery during this journey was the mind's ability to transcend physical boundaries. There were many times when he thought the steps were pushing him to the point of surrender, but every time, his mind showed him a new direction. With the power of his mind, he managed to push past the limits of his body. His determination grew with each passing day. Once, when he closed his eyes, he had been confronted with pain and loneliness, but now, with every closing of his eyes, he felt the love of Susan and his children. He set aside his pain and, with each step, nurtured a seed of hope, and every day he moved forward. One more step. One more step. The strength of his mental resilience had become the only thing carrying him. 0.75 days, 2,000 kilometers, and countless obstacles. Terry Hitchcock had finally reached the West. However, this was far more than just completing a physical goal. With each additional step, he was leaving behind the greatest battle of his life, the greatest loss, and the deepest pain. But that step was also a symbol of love, resistance, and loss. This journey was not just a run, it was a life struggle, a rebirth, and a light of hope. At the end of his run, Terry's steps had reached people all around the world. Millions of people had heard this incredible story, but he had inspired them not just with his physical strength, but with the power inside him. Cancer patients and their families had become symbols that empowered him with every step. Terry's run was not just a survival battle, it was also an effort to ignite a light against cancer's dark impact on the world. Terry's reaching the goal was not just his victory. He set aside his own pain and loss and touched the lives of others. Completing this journey, covering over 2,000 kilometers, was a tangible expression of his unique determination and resolve. Each kilometer held a meaning that Terry had never imagined before. However, reaching the goal was just the beginning. Because this journey was not just one individual's battle, it was the voice of a community. Every day, with every step, he was becoming the voice of those battling cancer and families experiencing loss. By the time it ended, although Terry's body and soul were exhausted, the power of the victory inside him had captivated everyone. People no longer saw him just as a man. He had become a role model and a source of inspiration for millions. He was proof of how far mental and physical limits could be pushed, a symbol of hope. His story echoed around the world. What he accomplished through this journey was not just the success of one person, but a celebration of the resilience and strength of the human spirit. He had not run just for himself. He had shown the entire world that even in the toughest moments of life, one could fight with hope, determination, and love. With every step, he paid tribute to his losses. Yet the strength to move forward came from the determination and love within him. Terry had shown the world that survival was not merely a physical process, but a spiritual struggle. Every kilometer, every step, every drop of sweat was a symbol of his determination and resilience. When he reached the goal, he had not only reached it for himself, but had become the voice of a community. This journey was a personal success for him, but it had created powerful awareness worldwide. Cancer patients and their families found the courage to take one more step with him. Terry Hitchcock's run had ended, but the awareness he created had opened the doors to worlds that could be changed by one person's determination. Now he would be remembered not only as a runner, but as a symbol that combined the deepest meanings of love and loss.